Hi everyone, I am Krithika Ravi Kumar. I will be presenting with my co-authors Hannah Anush and Ankit Pushpam we are from Campbellsville University, United States. Our paper is titled Reconceptualizing AR VR for Emerging Economies, Mobile-Based Solutions to Drive Accessibility and Adoption. Next slide. So let's get into this. When I say AR, I mean the smartphone augmented reality, which is digital labels and 3D objects over the real world through phone's camera. And when I say VR, I mean smartphone powered immersive scenes experienced on the phone itself or through simple viewer like 3D OF. So, in our study, we are basically diving deep on how mobile first AR VR isn't a workaround. It's its most pragmatic path to scale and equity. But when we talk about this, here's the problem. Headsets are getting better, but the adoption in low and middle economies is flat because of the cost, infrastructure, content fit are out of sync with reality. We did set out to test whether the mobile first approach using devices people already own can lower barriers without sacrificing the impact. Next slide. So here's the methodology. Methodologically, we used mixed method designs. We used structured Likert surveys, semi-structured expert interviews, and targeted case studies across different sectors such as education, healthcare, workforce training. Our sample spans diverse economic and tech backgrounds. We excluded respondents with no augmented reality and virtual reality exposure or extreme low digital access so we could get meaningful signal on adoption readiness. Analytically, we ran descriptives, testing affordability to willingness to adopt, and factor analysis that explains variance across barriers. The survey instrument is grounded in the technology acceptance model. We measured perceived usefulness and perceived ease of use. Next slide. So, in our study, these were the foundational insights that we discovered. There were three realities that stood out. First would be the affordability, with headsets today pricing at $400 to $1,000 ranging. Cost pressure is near critical. The second foundational insight was infrastructure. It was inconsistent power and limited 4G, 5G access, plus older Android hardware raise friction. And the third one is usability and skills. So motion sickness isn't a showstopper, but it's not non-trivial. And the low-tech literacy among educators and field workers slows usage. Finally, the most content isn't locally adapted. So even when devices work, the content often doesn't fit the learner. Next slide, please. So, why do today's solutions miss? Because they assume Western defaults, urban visuals, accents, and norms, which creates cultural disconnect, audience disengagement. The antidote is localization has the first principle, local languages, familiar environments, and community creators who produce culturally resonant modules. And the business wise model shifts from high capex to subscription and consumption pricing that spreads across low risk, cost, and gets pilot programs off the ground. The most sustainable model in this is how we actually make it work. Next slide. So that's the slide we are talking about. We have like there are three levers which will make this model actually sustainable. First, mobile integration. We run on phones people already own. For quick access, web based augmented reality in browser means no installations. For richer modules, a lightweight app can cache content and work offline so inconsistent bandwidth isn't a blocker. Second, the technology stack. We keep it lean and open. Tools like AR Toolkit, and AR JSON lets us do a marker or markerless web based augmented reality without any heavy runs. Third, the pricing. We avoid big upfront hardware purchases, pay per use, lowers the barrier for students and small businesses. Uh, free of This lets people use basics before upgrading, and institutional licensing lets schools and NGO pools seat instead of buying one expensive setup per site. Next slide. So let's speak about cultural relevance and content localization. Concretely, a playbook for content fit includes languages, visual and social cues like clothing, food, ritual, accents, domain realisms. For example, in medical field, diseases, procedures, and like in other fields, job tasks actually found in the region. And grassroots enablement, like toolkits, microfunds, so local creators can produce and iterate quickly. Next slide. So let's speak about mobile first framework for development. So what does mobile first look like? Three pieces: smartphone compatibility, flexible monetization, and local adaptive content. With smartphone compatibility, we meet users where they are. Flexible monetizations like subscription or pay per module instead of big hardware buys, and localization deliver over light footprints. One of the best industry example is this company called Axon, which is based out in the USA. They provide VR subscription based training modules for federal agencies. So this specific simulation that turns a capex wall into an opex ramp. The exact logic maps to education and healthcare context in emerging markets. Next slide. These are the key highlights that we found in our study. Let me boil down our study to four takeaways. First, the infrastructure, as I mentioned before, has been one of the gatekeepers, and the next one is the cost. They are consistently outrank the other barriers. So if we don't address power, bandwidth, and device price, nothing else scales. The second one is the real demand, especially in education and workforce training. Stakeholders are eager, they just blocked by the access and price. The third one is our stats that back it up. We were able to show that there was a significant link between affordability and willingness to adopt. In plain terms, when people believe they can afford, interest converts into intent. And the fourth is respondents show moderate support for pay per use pricing on a 5 point scale. So, flexible, low commitment access is more attractive than big upfront buys. Um, Next slide. This shows the result and data. So the affordability and adoption link is statistically significant, and our factor analysis show compact core of drivers for 38.6% variance, chiefly affordability, infrastructure reliability, and content fit. Put differently, solves these three and you unlock the rest. Next slide. Our mixed method synthesis is straightforward. Affordability and infrastructure form the gating layer. The cultural relevance determines stickiness. Mobile first addresses all three with the highest probability of scale. And the devices base is already existing, and price model can be right sized and content can be localized quickly. Next slide. Though we did find significant and important findings in our study, we do have limitations. There are there are two caveats right now. First, we intentionally excluded participants with zero augmented reality, virtual reality exposure. So our estimates may be optimistic relative to totally greenfield audience. Second, our stats are cross-sectional. We'll strengthen casual inference with longitudinal pilots. Next slide. So next steps has recommendation.
Excuse me, Professor. You have half a minute left.
Yeah, I'll do it quick. Broaden the sample and usability trials for real behavior. Use AI assisted localization with human review to cut content cost, and deployment with rural broadband literacy, etc. Next slide. So, our conclusion is our position here is AR VR can be an equalizer when we design for actual constraint and cultural of economies that are emerging. Mobile based VR isn't a compromise, it's a strategy that makes economies, the infrastructure, and the content all line up. That's how we got from pilots to populations. Thank you.